Break out the Geritol and the pudding. It's time to
I saw that.
I'm sorry, I had to steal that from you, Steve Penzek.
That was good. Yeah.
Welcome
And
to Geeky Geezers.
I kind of feel like we need to, unless you're going to get some kind of a like super cool professional opening, I think you should start opening it the way Mr. Matchstick does. Just in the middle of our conversation in the green room, just go ahead, go live. It's fine, because the stuff we talk about in the green room is the stuff that we really should be saving for when we go live.
Well, what we were just talking about before we went live, Troy had a very special. I mean, all of his guests are special.
Oh yeah.
But he had a very special guest on Friday, Fat Steven Seagal.
Well, the channel is now called Justice Fat Seagal.
Justice Fat Seagal. Oh, I like that. That rolls off the tongue.
But he actually did on the stream go through the kind of the history, how it started out with the whole Fat Steven Seagal thing, and I guess there were some other fat characters before that, and then there was the somewhere in the middle there was not Rob Schneider, which is still his on Twitter not Rob Schneider. And
I like
kind
that,
of
not Rob
talk
Schneider.
Through some of that. But it was nice. I mean, I always want you to be my wingman when we go live, but when you can't be there, I'm glad that you were there in the chat.
Yeah, well, I was able to just lucked out that way that night. But I want to say hello to the chat. We got Order the Dread here. Good evening, Age Boomer Troy Pacelli, YouTube's dynamic duo. Thank you.
Oh, that's a nice way to say it. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great stream, Geezers. Thank you, Al. I don't know if you were first, but welcome. Looks like you were first. Age Boomer, hi. It's always nice to get a hi, sweetie, from the net.
Oh, yeah. She's got that special little heart exclamation point that's specifically for you.
Oh,
you notice she gives a regular heart to everybody else.
But I get the exclamation point. Thank you. Mr. Matchstick, welcome. I sneezed. Well, it happens to the best of us. What you sipping on?
Yeah, exactly.
Heart, yes. What you sipping on?
I am sipping on I'm just having a diet grapefruit soda tonight. I had last night. I had almost the rest of that Ecto Cooler I'd made up a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was without adding anything to it. It was just the virgin Ecto Cooler, and it had that slight viscousness you might remember from the 80s. It was just spot on.
Funny, I was watching Ghostbusters Afterlife because I brought my copy with it because my host hadn't seen it yet. So I figured, hey, is there like a pity I don't have a recent movie I bought that they probably haven't seen that's not on stream? Oh, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
There you go.
So I brought that with me, yeah. And
smart.
I don't have the fancy edition you have. I did get the trilogy edition that came out because it had a good price on it 1 week, so I picked it up, but it had all three of them in it.
Did you see that? Did you see that there's going to be a new box set coming out that's going to include the 2016 film?
No!
Yeah. Well, I don't blame them. You want to get as much money out of Ghostbusters as you can. And if there's an excuse to re-release them all again, but I don't know how well that's going to sell. I think most people did like me. They got that one, and they figured, screw it. If I want 2016, I can get it separately.
And if you didn't want to spend that much, they had a regular set that was just 3 Blu-rays, but didn't have 2016 in it either.
Exactly. But again, I do not begrudge them trying to make as much money as they can. If you can re-release things over and over again, I can't think of any. This last box set was so inclusive. There was so much extra footage, so much behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff, and most of it was brand new. That there's nothing that people are going, oh, I wish they just released the, Dan Aykroyd cut or something. I don't know, whatever. Nothing like that out there. We've already got everything. So if they can find other ways to repackage it and make more money on it, good on them. I want them to make as much money on Ghostbusters as they can so they keep putting stuff out for us.
Yeah, that's true. And the money they make from that will go to future projects, obviously, yeah.
Exactly.
Deleted scene. Sorry I'm late, was called into work, just got back. That's unacceptable. Who's more important, the Geeky Geezers or your job?
Well, his job's probably paying him more.
You need to tell your boss, you could take this job and go stick it where the sun don't shine.
I was going to say, he's
recommendation for you.
He's probably getting paid more by his job. Well, if you are as valuable to your employer as you are to the people you blue wrenched for, you should probably say something like that and expect to get some sort of a raise so they can keep you. Because you are incredibly valuable.
Welcome, Zootopia. Glad to see you here. And let's see here.
You got Joshua V, right?
Joshua V. I haven't got him. Have you heard that several cartoons were removed from HBO and other online services and home media? I did not know that, but I may look into that for next week's stream because that's important. What types of cartoons? Like old Batman animated series? Or are we talking going further back, like Looney Tunes stuff? I'm very curious.
Either way, I wouldn't be surprised.
All I know is, here's the thing, HBO Max. I like to think I'm fair to Warner Brothers, like I've attacked them over the years, but when they do something right, and I actually thought when I first got HBO Max, got access to it, it had, at least the actual streaming service was nice and streamlined, had a lot of stuff on there. You want to watch an old episode of The Super Friends? Fine. You want to watch Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee? It's on there. They had a lot of stuff on there. And I noticed the other month, Mr. Birdman and I were doing a rewatch of Magnum Force. I'm like, oh, I'll just go and I know they put the Dirty Harry movies back on. Let me go. Oh, it's not there again.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing to me? You haven't won the war yet. You need to be making me happy so I can just go anytime I want and have the convenience of just clicking on Magnum Force and don't have to get my DVD out. Okay, that's the point of your service. Even more so for the people that don't have the DVD. But this is again why we say buy physical media.
Yep.
New from the 2010s and 2020s. I have to say, on Mr. Messic's channel, we did a rewatch of the first season of Legion of Superheroes, and I did look for that on HBO Max, and I'm like, they don't have it. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And, of course, my own library system I work for, we didn't have it either. But then, of course, the county I live in, I checked them, and they did have it on Blu-ray. So I was like, okay. Otherwise, I was going to say, hey, can we do something else? But I did get access to it. I could always have bought it, too, but I don't know. All right, you didn't ask me what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on?
I have here, I got this from a coworker, and it's a very fancy Coke. It is from the Artist Marshmallow. It's the Artist Marshmallow's limited edition Coca-Cola. Watermelon, strawberry flavored class Coke, and other natural flavors. What do you think, huh? This is like the artisanal Coke. Artisan beer. This is artisan Coke.
How does it taste? How is the watermelon? I see.
Taste test. I'm pouring it in to see if it even looks different. Looks like regular old Coke. Sorry, I can't show it to you guys, but
No, of course. Well, if it looks like regular Coke, we pretty much know what it looks like.
Ooh, but it smells funny.
Funny like a clown? Funny like it's here to amuse you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm tasting it now. That's not awful, actually. I was expecting it to be bad because I'm like, they did that, I think, Stardust Coke a little while back that was in the news, and it was like, it's the taste of outer space in a Coke, and I'm like, okay, what's the?
So it tastes like burnt meat. I mean,
I think there was graham cracker in it, like s'mores. Like if you're by the campfire looking up the stars. I don't know. I couldn't tell anything else in that. It's just,
gosh,
no.
How is the watermelon playing out in that?
Let me see. I'll try it again. Hold on.
Yeah,
I tasted the strawberry.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Okay.
Behind the strawberry, if that makes sense. You
would expect watermelon to be a little bit more subtle and maybe overpowered by the strawberry if they did it right.
It's like if they took Pop Rocks and made them a soda out of them. Because you don't want to drink Pop Rocks with your soda, other's your head explodes, right? But
right. No. Actually, they say your gut explodes. But
oh yikes! Okay,
that is the urban legend. Anyone who knows basic biology it'll make you burp.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that's how the body works, guys.
I'm simping on Paramount Plus. I will say this: I have knocked Paramount Plus around a lot, and I've argued the only reason I subscribe to it so my dear mother can watch her NCISs and Blue Bloods and all the other old folks shows. I'm kidding. Regular. Just the procedurals, okay, but they did bring back Beavis and Butthead, and I did watch the first episode before going on my little trip this weekend, and I loved the first episode of Beavis and Butthead of the new show because they went through the whole convoluted reason as to why they'd exist in modern times instead of just having them be in modern times and us just ignoring that, right? But for the movie, they get the whole convoluted reason why they're in modern times, and now it's just like I'm back in the '90s, except they're back now as horrible teenagers, and they
Of
go to
course.
an escape room, and they're so stupid they don't follow the directions right, and they go into the bathroom because I think the escape room is escape from the mummy's tomb. And then they think the men's room is the escape room, and they try getting out of it. They're too stupid to pull on the door to get out.
Oh my gosh!
And then it ends with them finally getting out after like just demolishing the ladies' room because they go through the men's room into the ladies' room, and then oh no, it's even trickier than we thought because they go through the grate. Anyway, though. So they end up going into They say we have to use the bathroom now, and they go into the mummy's tomb, and then Beavis this is a weird looking toilet. I'm not complaining. I just gotta go, and you can tell him sitting inside the sarcophagus, and he's gonna lay a dump, and it's.
Well, for those of you that, speaking of escaping from a bathroom, those of you that have that subscribe to Shudder, check out Fanzine's video about the Shudder original film Glorious, which is literally about a guy trying to escape from a bathroom, but he's locked in there by an eldritch god in a Lovecraftian sort of horror story. Yeah. Eldritch god voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Really?
Yes, it's actually very, very good. Very good film.
That.
But I do like what David Pensack said. He says, as Olivia once sang, let's get physical, media.
But let's see, Trevor. I bet you can do some Goodfellas lines. Is that one of your favorite movies?
Goodfellas? It is up there.
It's a good one. My favorite, though, oddly enough, of that type of Scorsese's was the Casino. Goodfellas is great, though. I'm not denying, but Casino. You thought Joe Pesci was raw in Goodfellas. He goes over the top in Casino. But did you see me was about to do the universal clip of them understanding white privilege was fantastic? Yeah, I talked about it on Mr. Matchstick's channel. It was a brilliant little movie. You know how like most movies, I think I said when the time travelers they go, like Marty McFly, he goes back to 1955 or 2015 or whatever, and he's like, it's the future, and he can tell it's the future. Beavis and Butthead were so stupid they didn't realize they changed times. They thought they were still, they didn't have the capacity, but
that is brilliant, right? The average person traveling through time not being able to, deal with what that means fully, We all think we would, what we would do and how we would behave, but the reality is you kind of need to be a little bit of a scholar of history to be able to understand the ramifications of time travel, right?
Yes.
I want to go back and meet Jesus. Well, that's great. Do you speak Aramaic or Hebrew or Latin?
I don't know who wrote this story, but I think there was a science fiction story about a guy who invents a time machine and wants to stop the crucifixion. But stuff keeps interfering with him to prevent him from doing it. And I guess it's that idea that time, some people feel, time, it's like an ocean in the storm, like in Prince of Persia, or time is like a river. That's another thing. So maybe you can't go back and stop. Maybe, whether it be the universe or God preventing him from doing that.
The idea that you can't create an ontological paradox because it's a linear time. If you go back in time, you're going back to a time that already happened and existed, where you already went back in time, and whatever you think you're going to do, you were unsuccessful because you were unsuccessful.
And they touched on that in the one Time Machine movie a few years back, where he was trying to stop his wife from getting killed, but then when he does time travels and stops it, something else kills her. And then when he goes in the future and meets one of the Morlocks, he says, the reason you can't save your wife is because your wife is the reason you invent the time machine.
Right.
You know,
had you succeeded, you never would have invented the time machine and therefore never would have succeeded.
Yeah. But I'll look for those shows. I'm very curious to see what's going on over on HBO Max. This is why we say, well, again and again, buy physical media. And speaking of physical media, I do own Bueler.
Oh,
Bueler.
Yeah.
I can't. I almost thought I was going to torture people with my rendition of whatever song that is. Was that on the soundtrack, I wonder?
Yeah, it was. In fact, did you know that John Hughes personally selected the songs for the film?
Interesting.
Yeah. But that was a song called Oh Yeah by a Swiss band called Yellow, Yello, which wasn't a very big hit until after, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They re-released it, and it became a hit in its re-release. Kind of becoming a bit of a pop culture thing on its own, whenever they want to reference Ferris Bueller's Day Off in a movie or a TV show, or they just want to focus on something desirable, some object or person in a film or whatever. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's what you want. Right. And do the younglings know what Ferris Bueller's Day Off is?
Well, if they don't, you definitely need to find out. And if you own physical media, that's how you find out. But it's another one of those John Hughes films. And see, honestly, I think that I get the distinct impression that most people do know. It really is a classic film. It's up there with things like The Blues Brothers and The Breakfast Club and Home Alone. These kinds of films that it's very difficult to compare them to anything else except maybe each other, In fact, the only reason most people know who Ben Stein is because of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
Yeah, and Ben Stein's hilarious. He was one of these actors. He would show up just for a scene in a movie, but he was hilarious. I think he's a comedian by trade too, or at least he was back when he was doing those movies. He was just the horrible, boring homeroom teacher that's calling for attendance. And you remember all of this, don't you? I mean, do you remember this? Yes, this is just and did you know that Ben Stein, he actually was an economics teacher? When he got the role, he was told, go ahead and we're not even scripting what you're doing in the class. Actually do a class. So all of that is, I want to say improvised, but it kind of wasn't, because he prepared it as though he was preparing an actual class. So what he's talking about is what he would actually be talking about in a class. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'll say this about John Hughes movies in general. I mean, I don't know that he's the one who directed it, but it still feels like something he directed. It was directed by John Hughes. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, but they all have an authenticity to them. And granted, I didn't live in the Chicago area or Chicago suburbs, but I think all around the United States, especially when you're on the outskirts of these big cities or even the Midwest, these movies rang true. He got America. I'll say that.
I was going to say, I always like to focus in on the little kernels that I see in it that are, very Chicago, and I'll get to some of those in a minute. But I think Ben Stein himself, actually, I got my notes. Let me read this real quick.
Oh, wow.
Ben Stein was exceptionally moved by the film, calling it the most life-affirming movie possible of the entire post-war period. This is to comedies what Gone with the Wind is to epics, Stein added. It will never die because it responds to and calls forth such human emotions. It isn't dirty. There's nothing mean-spirited about it. There's nothing sneering or sniggering about it. It's just wholesome. We want to be free. We want to have a good time. We know we're not going to be able to all of our lives. We know we're going to have to buckle down and work. We know we're going to have to eventually become family men and women and have responsibilities and pay our bills. But just give us a couple of good days that we can look back on. That's what Ben Stein said about this film. And I think he's right. Yeah. I think that, I tend to look on this as, a Chicago film, but it's so much more generalizable than that. And it really does speak to a human condition that's not just Midwestern. It's very American.
Yeah.
Very North American, Western. I don't know how far you could generalize it.
It doesn't feel Californian.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of teen movies that took place in California. They have their own feel. I'm thinking of a Valley.
But they still. Oh yeah, exactly. But even those, if you get past the minor, if you get past the minor cultural things, right? The general thing everyone as a teenager can relate to, and that's whether you grew up as a teenager in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or if you're currently a teenager. You can look at those and go, I could totally relate to these characters, even though I might not get all of the temporal, cultural, things. I get the general feel of it,
Yeah. Matthew Broderick as a teen having wild hijinks. I think Spider-Man: Homecoming referenced it in one scene. A lot of modern, let's be blunt, a lot of modern teen movies. They'll, even if it's not referenced, the directors have seen this movie. D. Pensek, Ferris Bueller also made Jeffrey Jones' career start. We should give the basic plot. Okay, Ferris Bueller is he's a delinquent, but not a harmful delinquent. I think he just likes to skip school. He doesn't like going to school because he feels it's a waste of time, so he tries to take out as many days off as possible. He's
way too smart for his own good. And he's also a big schmoozer. I don't know what he's going to do in life after high school, but I could see him as some sort of a salesman.
Probably.
People tend to like him.
Advertising, maybe. I could see that.
He is very, very popular. Without being the jock or the whatever. He's the any man, but everyone just likes him. And, he's able to schmooze, get by, but he does have a problem with attendance. So when it comes to his grades, he's got to, finagle things.
Did you play hooky?
I didn't. I really didn't. In fact, no, I wasn't. Because I didn't have anything I wanted to do outside of school. I figured all my friends are at school, so that's kind of where I needed to be. I was a lot like Ferris, though, in that I got people to like me and let me slide on things. So, I volunteered in the library during study hall, which gave me a great deal of freedom to do kind of whatever I wanted, at least for part of the day. And it'd be like, look, I want to... can I just slip out and just pretend you don't know? Okay, I don't see anything. I don't know anything. Just don't get me in trouble. Okay. And I'll be back before the end of the hour, I promise. Stuff like that. So a little bit, a more realistic version of Ferris Bueller,
See, with me, in fact, who knows if watching this movie influenced me. One of the wonderful things about this movie is Ferris Bueller, and I saw this in the theater, and I think I was a preteen when I saw it. I think it was, in fact, 86. I was probably 9 or 10, I think, yeah. And I loved, I was probably 9, yeah. I loved the fact that he breaks the fourth wall. There's fourth wall breaking. He is talking to the audience.
That's is, and that's it. And the end credit scene where he breaks the fourth wall.
Yep. He breaks the fourth wall.
The whole thing about, what are you still doing here? Go home. The movie's over. Go on, shoo. But what was funny about that?
To see what happens because the credits kept rolling and there's more story.
The question was, how many people would have known to stay through the credits? Back then, most people just got up when the credits started and left. Well, actually, in this one, it was front loaded with a beginning credit scene because the credits are starting as you're getting the whole Rooney on the bus scene. Right. Yeah, so it pulls you into the credits. But after that, most people got up and started leaving. I went to see it with some of my high school friends and they were like, should we get going? And I'm like, why? If we leave now, we're going to be stuck in the traffic of everyone else leaving. I said, besides, we spent a lot of money to get into this theater. I want to see every damn thing there is to see. And that's when at the very end that happens. And my buddy Otto's like, from now on, I stayed at the end of the credits for every movie.
I wonder what we see now with the MCU movies and other things. I wonder if it started with Ferris Bueller. Maybe it didn't, but it feels like this is the first movie I remember staying to the end of the credits in the theater. I will say that.
Yep. But I caught David Pensack is quoting a few lines from the movie. He says, "He's a righteous dude." Edie McClure actually improvised that line, and she did her best to put on a Chicago Midwestern accent for that. She did okay. I thought she did fine. But you'd be surprised how much of this film was improvised. The bit with the clarinet, where he's playing terribly and never took a lesson. That was completely improvised, just because someone happened to find a clarinet on set. And he's like, "Oh, I can play the clarinet," which he couldn't.
I should. Maybe he thought that they were going to dub it over.
No. He was just playing around, and he figured if they don't like it, they'll just leave it out. It wasn't a scene that was written anyway. But going a little further on the Ben Stein stuff, he said that his role was he got the role through 6 degrees of separation. Richard Nixon introduced him to the man named a man named Bill Sapphire, who's a New York Times columnist. He introduced him to a guy who's an executive at Warner Brothers. He introduced me to a guy who's a casting director. He introduced me to John Hughes. John Hughes and I are among the only Republicans in the picture business, and John Hughes put me in the movie. Stein said Hughes said that Stein was an easy and early choice for the role of the teacher. He wasn't a professional actor. He had a flat voice. He looked like a teacher. So his whole existence as an actor, so to speak, as a celebrity is because of his Republican Richard Nixon affiliation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that was back when they didn't get all bogged down with everything. They just, who's right for the part, and that was it.
That's exactly it. And if you were someone like John Hughes, you knew what you wanted, and no one was going to tell you otherwise, right?
Yeah.
But for those of and I've been dancing around the whole Chicago aspect of this.
They go to a lot of Chicago monuments.
They absolutely do. The restaurant where they go to eat, where he claims to be the sausage king of the Midwest and whatnot. That's the same restaurant that Jake and Elwood terrorized in the Blues Brothers. It's also featured in St. Elmo's Fire, where Kirby waits for Dale.
Right.
St. Elmo's Fire is another one that we got to do sometime soon. But so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. The parade sequence, that was an actual Chicago parade. It was the Von Steuben Day parade, which takes place every year in September. We have a big German community here, so that's what that is. Although it's always on the weekend, and this story is supposed to be taking place during the work week. Doesn't make a lot of sense for there to be a parade going on during the business day, during the school day. This is why I've always thought that this story and some of its more unlikely elements are the effect of Cameron or Ferris Bueller, whoever's telling this story, in their adulthood, thinking back and remembering. Because I have a lot of stories with the buddies that I went to see this movie with and whatnot, and I know I don't remember them exactly the way they happened. I know my mind has embellished them, and I gotta say I prefer it that way. And I think that's what Ferris Bueller is. I think it's a memory of a day in high school that's maybe a little bit glorified, a little bit embellished in his memory.
You are spoiling it, because I thought, wouldn't it be cool? See, I was younger, so I wasn't in high school yet when I saw this. So I was like, wow, is this what high school will be like? Cool people like this.
Were you disappointed when you got to high school and it wasn't?
I hated high school. I mean, I went to 2 high schools, too, because we moved to Florida halfway through. So I would play hooky whenever I got a chance. I mean, it wasn't I could only get away with so much. I would do like maybe I forgot. I'd at least do 1 day per semester, maybe a couple. We'll see. He got up to 9 one semester, which I thought was funny. And then he changes the computer.
Exactly.
Oh.
And I got to be honest. Like I said, I remember my high school days to be very, very Ferris Bueller-esque. But if you were to really pin me down and maybe talk to some of my friends from back then, they may remember it a little bit differently.
Right.
But that's fine. I think this is a good thing. I think this is the way you want to remember things.
Sure. And it's better to look at the good things in the past, which I think I do tend to do. But that's why we call this the good old days.
The good old days.
Good old days weren't perfect. Weren't perfect in neither. But of course, I tend to think, well, culturally speaking, I have issues with now, but maybe we'll be talking about that a little bit. Mia Sarah S. Sloan Peterson, did want to bring her up.
Oh, Mia Sarah. Let me just say, the first, and in some ways, I think the best live action Harley Quinn. Just saying.
Right.
For those of you that ever saw the show Birds of Prey.
She has wonderful eyes too.
She really does.
And I like the fact that she was Ferris has a girlfriend, because of course he's the cool guy. He should have a girlfriend. And
of course, Mia Sarah, people who remember the film Legend, which I know that Big Al's a big fan of, she was the female lead in that one as well.
A lot of other little cameos by other actors that would go on, like Charlie Sheen's in this. So is Christy Swanson.
The story behind Charlie Sheen was that his character is supposed to be a drugged out, he's in drug, in the police station for drug possession, and you figure, well, Charlie Sheen, they were casting the type, but he wasn't really into drugs yet. The story is that in order to prepare for that role, he stayed up for 48 hours before filming his scene. That's why he looks the way he did and acted the way he was, a little bit twitchy. And it's one of those things, once you know it, you can't unsee it. You're like, yep, that looks as much like someone who didn't sleep as someone who's, tweaking.
Adonis DNA. I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute. Never mind. Jennifer Grey played Shayna, his sister.
Exactly. They played brother and sister, but started dating shortly after.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And but they broke up after the car accident that yeah, that was pretty tragic. But
I'd heard about that. Yeah.
Life happens. I think Mia Sarah, in fact, was the youngest of the kids. She was the closest to actual high school age. She was 19 at the time of filming. And the only reason she got the role was she had John Hughes thinking she was older, because he said he specifically wanted someone who was a little bit older, who could be more mature and imply, a kind of wisdom beyond her age. And she actually portrayed that. Yep. And he's like, okay, you got the role. And then he found out she was 19. Are you kidding? You're only 19? It's like, well, I guess it works,
It works, and, hey, good for her. And, of course, we have Alan Ruck as Cameron, who's
Alan Ruck, who I think was the oldest of them.
Interesting.
I think he was like 21 or something like that, or maybe he was older than that. And he was a little concerned because he was like, how am I going to pull off being a teenager? I don't know what's cool these days, and blah, 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 blah. And the more he thought about it, he was like, but when I was a teenager, I didn't know what was cool.
Yeah.
And Cameron doesn't know what's cool.
No.
I'll just be myself. I should be fine.
And he was. No, it's believable, because he's not like Ferris. He's not the cool guy, but Ferris is still friends with him, which I think is neat. And of course, we have Jeffrey Jones as Ed Rooney, the dean of the students, principal of the school. I always figured that's what he was, but I guess that's the same thing. He's like the antagonist of this whole movie. And
yes,
I think it was Dee Penzick that was asking if this movie made his career, and I was thinking, did Howard the Duck end it like a year later? I'm sorry, I don't know which came first, this or Howard the Duck.
Well, the three movies I think of when I think of him is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Howard the Duck, and Amadeus. He was Salzburg. He was the king. Yeah.
He was good in that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was. So too many notes.
It's a self-deletion prevention movie. Ferris is trying to save Cameron, plus fix a few things in his own life as well. It's interesting how John Hughes movies end up being about other things. For instance, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Oh, it's a silly movie of the pitfalls. Steve Martin and John Candy have especially when Steve Martin's trying to get back to his family. But then you realize it's about more than that. It's about grief and
I swear.
Friendship. Yeah.
Most of you guys know I do a watch party of that every Thanksgiving, and I'm in tears at the end. I can never get through that last scene without losing it.
Yeah. But Ferris Bueller, classic movie. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. And it's interesting because I feel like I have two big John Hughes trilogies. The one is the Universal one, which is the Breakfast Club, Weird Science, and 16 Candles. And then there's the Paramount one, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Some Kind of Wonderful, and Pretty in Pink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
speaking of which, Molly Ringwald had been up for the role of Sloane. And again, because he was looking for someone who had a little bit more maturity and whatnot, he went with Mia Sara.
Plus, people were used to her as those other characters in those movies, so they probably wanted to go with something.
That's true, too. Yeah. But...
news. Ferris Bueller's Day Off spinoff from Cobra Kai creators and Bill Prosley in works.
Yep.
Okay, let's read this. A spinoff of the 1986 John Hughes film Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in the works at Paramount Pictures, titled Sam and Victor's Day Off, from Cobra Kai creators John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and John Held. Bill Prosley, bitch ass, is set to write the film. I've not heard of bitch ass. I'm going to have to look for that. Okay. Sam and Victor's Day Off will follow the same day adventure of the titular valets who took the Ferrari on a joyride in the Matthew Broderick Star. In the original film, the valet attendants were not given official names. They were played by Richard Edson and Larry Flash Jenkins, who died in 2019. Paul Young is producing through his company, Make Good Content. The company's executive, Devin Young, will oversee the project. Steven Cedars, Benji Kleiman, and Scott Yakshin will be associate producers. What do you think?
See, my gut instinct, the first thing that I saw was Ferris Bueller's Day spinoff. I was like, oh no. But then when you see from Cobra Kai creators, I'm like, maybe.
I thought it'd be about Ferris's daughter, and she's like, I always had perfect attendance. I don't want to go fishing with you, or whatever it is. It's like, or to Wrigley Field. It would be like a reverse thing, but never mind.
But that's the same thing. I said the same thing when I saw that there was going to be, when Cobra Kai was coming out. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. They're gonna, they're making a sequel nobody ever wanted. They're going to make the hero from the previous one the villain, blah, 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 blah. Come to find out, the people that are behind Cobra Kai totally got what it was, took it seriously, verisimilitude, the whole bit, totally honored what went before, gave us something new and different and young kids to continue on the story and whatnot. And I've loved every minute of it. If they do the same thing for Ferris Bueller, what the hey? And I got to be honest, the story about the two valets, I always thought, there was a story there. I always wondered what it was. If they can pull that off, but now it sounds to me like this is going to be taking place contemporaneously with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This is going to be like Back to the Future 2. Where they're going back and telling story that's taking place at the same time.
It'd be funny if the valets go on hijinks and they manage to stop the car from being trashed, and then later on they see it being towed away from Cameron's house or something, right?
Dude, you may have just given away a spoiler.
I'm just saying, if I was writing it, they'd have to see their work off or not. Now I'm being reminded of License to Drive, another fun 80s movie.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the topic for another time. I don't know. This could work. I'm not against it. At least they're doing something different. It's the valets. And heck, even if they did it about Ferris's kids at this point. If it's the Cobra Kai people, I might. It's worth a look at least.
Well, here's my speculation. If this turns out to be good and well received, you might see some sort of a sequel later down the line.
Yep. Okay. Maybe we'll finally get that showdown between Ferris Bueller and Parker Lewis. You know what I'm talking about?
Never thought about that before, but yeah,
Parker Lewis in California. Remember, he was not Chicago. Oh, Parker Lewis, Fox series, and it was almost. I don't want to say it was ripping off Ferris Bueller, but it had similar. It was a similar type of tone in the series where the guy who got in the hijinks. I loved it though. I love Parker Lewis. That'll be a time.
I wonder if we do get some sort of a sequel down the line. I wonder if we're going to have fans of the Ferris Bueller TV series coming out of the woodwork and being pissed off that that's not canon anymore or something like that.
Oh, here we go. Oh, the Ferris Bueller TV show. Well, that was the odd thing. The Ferris Bueller TV show went off the air. And Parker Lewis stayed on. And the ironic thing is that I believe that the Ferris Bueller show, I think, I could be wrong, it might have still gotten better ratings than Parker Lewis. Parker Lewis was much cheaper to make. And it was a Fox show, and that's what made it stay on.
Yeah. Do you remember who played his sister in the TV series?
I remember her sister, but who played her?
Jennifer Aniston.
What? No.
That was Jennifer Aniston.
Are
who
you
played
sure?
Yes, I am.
I don't. On Ferris Bueller TV series.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't watch the Ferris Bueller TV series.
That was like her first role. At least I think that was her first.
And she went on to be in Leprechaun, I guess, right?
And I'm forgetting the name of the kid that played Ferris Bueller. He went on to play a doctor in the Dick Van Dyke Doctor Show.
Oh, okay. Diagnosis Murder.
Diagnosis Murder, right.
The one that looks like Back to the Future dude?
Yeah. You know who I mean.
Jesse. I mean, that's his name in his show.
Yeah, Netter's looking it up. But yeah, it was actually, I liked the show. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting take. It plays like...
Charles Thomas Schlatter.
Say it again?
Charles Thomas Schlatter.
What Netter said, yeah. But they did an interesting take on it. It was like he was the real Ferris Bueller, and the movie was a dramatization of his life. So that's why all the actors are different and stuff, because they're supposed to be the real ones. I'm like, okay, that's kind of clever. I kind of dig that.
All right. Yeah. Also... It's like when I watched the Grudge Netflix series. This is the true horror story that the Grudge movie was based on, but it's been too terrifying to tell until now. And it really is. It's just another show about a cursed house, but it's not really connected to the Grudge movie. But anyway.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of from fictional Ferris Bueller to maybe a real life Ferris Bueller, no, maybe not. No, okay.
Oh gosh, come on! Seriously, you're trying to. I mean, I understand trying to find a pivot, but my gosh,
Ezra Miller.
I swear, I'm going to start just like the Stadler and Waldorf that I have in the notes every week. I may have to just leave Ezra Miller in the thumbnail every week because he's in it every week. Something new comes up all the time.
The Flash star Ezra Miller says they are seeking treatment for, quote unquote, complex mental health issues.
Y'all think?
Yeah, I think drugs might have something to do with it too, but that's just me. Okay, in a statement provided to...
I hope drugs have something to do with it. If not, it's even worse.
Maybe, yeah. In a statement provided to Variety by a representative of the actor, Miller broke their silence about the troubling behavior that they have exhibited in recent years, which has led to a series of legal issues and assault and abuse allegations. Miller also apologized for their actions. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment, Miller says. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. The embattled actor, who is non-binary and uses they and them pronouns, played the DC Comics character Barry Allen in 2017's Justice League and its 2021 counterpart, Zack Snyder's Justice League. but their role in the comic book franchise has been overshadowed by their off-screen behavior, which has alarmed friends and associates of the actor, as well as Warner Brothers, the studio behind The Flash. Most recently, Miller was charged with felony burglary in Vermont after state police investigated an incident involving several bottles of alcohol being taken from a residence while the homeowners were not present. The actor made headlines in 2020 after recording service in which they appeared to be choking a woman outside of a bar in Iceland.
Pregnant
What do you mean
woman.
appeared?
Yeah.
Okay. Miller was choked. Okay, no charges were filed. The actor has been arrested twice in Hawaii this year, once for disorderly conduct and harassment. In the Hawaii incidents, Miller pled no contest to a single count of misdemeanors or disorderly conduct and paid a $500 fine and $30 in court costs. Harassment charge was dismissed. The series of scandals has become a snowballing public relations issue, not only for Miller, but also for Warner Brothers Discovery, which has employed the actor across two of its cornerstone franchises, DC Comics films and the Harry Potter spin-off series Fantastic Beasts. A source close to the studio say that Warner Brothers supports Miller's decision to seek professional help. The Flash is set to open in theaters on June 23rd, 2023, and reportedly serves as a key entry in the studio's DC Comics films, featuring appearances by Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton as Batman. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that I don't have any original thoughts on this. I just recently saw the Midnight's Edge piece about this that just came out today. I encourage people to check that out. One of the speculations is there's no real evidence that this was actually Ezra's words. It was written as a statement that he may or may not even agree with. It was either written by a representative of Warner Brothers or maybe his attorney. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes with this? One of the big speculations is, we talked a couple weeks back about the possible options that Warner Brothers has regarding this Flashpoint movie. None of them are really good ones. But then everyone was freaking out when this happened, saying they're doubling down on Ezra Miller. And Andre over at Midnight's Edge made an excellent point. There is a possibility that in the negotiations with, for example, Michael Keaton, maybe he wasn't making a whole lot of money on the Flashpoint movie, but he was offered, some sort of percentage of the film or something like that, And if that was the case, it could cost them a great deal of money in a lawsuit if they don't release this film. So there might be more to this than just the money they've put into this movie trying to get this movie out there.
So they have to rehab his image long enough for this movie to come out and do box office, and then maybe later on they can dump him.
And the upside...
Maybe not do anything with the Flash for a while, yeah.
Right. And the upside to that, too, well, they've already said outright that he would not be the Flash going forward. That, this is, his last outing with them and so forth. But the other upside to going about it this way is it gives Warner Brothers the opportunity to say, look, we feel for this kid and we want to help him in any way we can. We don't want to be the bad guys here. We want to help him get the help he needs. We'll go ahead and put this movie out there and, honor our agreement with him and blah, 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 blah. And, wish him the best, I mean, it's the best thing they could do, right? Who can get pissed off at Warner Brothers if they do that, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it comes down to there's some contracts and agreements behind the scenes. I'm just speculating that it could have to do with Michael Keaton, but who knows? So when people are saying, they can't afford to not do something with this movie, it might not just be the amount of money they've put into it. If that's all it was, or the ability to replace him, they could easily do those things. there is total precedent for that kind of stuff. But if there's some sort of agreements involving they have to release this film or pay out big dollars in a lawsuit, maybe they got to just find a way to get the movie out there and put the best possible spin that they can on it.
Here's what, it's interesting. DC could probably have a new slate of superhero movies if they are indeed sticking with the Snyderverse, and have superhero movies for a couple of years before they would even have to bring the Flash back. Captain Marvel, where's she been? In Marvel, they made a big deal here. She's going to be, and she has little cameos, but they haven't even given her another movie yet. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with DC right now, but I guess we'll find out in the months to come. I could see them, though. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. But deleted scenes as a comment. J.J. Abrams news from PaPa Pacelli. I'll have to look for that. I know you keep up with him, right? Usually, so.
Yeah, usually. The problem is that there's a problem between my email and Patreon, and I haven't been getting the emails. So.
I got you. Okay, so here we go. Let's go to the next one. On the business side of things, this is Who Owns What, which is becoming more and more confusing as of late because everybody claims to have a piece of the pie, it seems, these days. But okay, so Warner Brothers. This is a little confusing because last time I had checked, Amazon bought MGM, correct?
Right.
But what's going on here at Deadline? Okay, 2 months into their run as Warner Brothers Pictures Group, co-chairs and CEOs Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy have hammered out a multi-year deal to handle the international distribution of MGM's theatrical titles, commencing with Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All in November, and continuing with the 2023 slate and beyond. Second title under the pact being Creed 3 in March. Now, I'm assuming what this means is Amazon will not be distributing them in theaters themselves. They're going to let Warner Brothers handle that. I guess they get a cut of the profits. But when they come to streaming, they go directly to Amazon. Is that what I'm expecting?
I guess, yeah.
Crickets, I don't know. Okay. The deal which DeLuca and Abdy worked out with MGM COO Christopher Branton will deliver a great deal of incremental revenue to Warner Brothers. I hear the terms are 3 years with an option for 2 and encompasses the theatrical distribution of MGM titles outside of the U.S., including China. The new agreement also includes worldwide physical home entertainment distribution on newly released MGM titles. MGM and Warner Brothers Picture Group will team on marketing, advertising, publicity, film distribution, and exhibitor relations on behalf of MGM's future slate of theatrical releases outside of North America theatrical market, with Warner Brothers responsible for its execution. Okay, so it's only outside of North America, so I'm assuming Amazon will still handle stuff inside the States. Interesting, and Canada, of course, and maybe Mexico. Okay, but what previously MGM titles were released overseas by Universal, and under the terms of the studio's old deal, Eon's Bond 26 will be released by Uni International, in addition to the Broccoli Studios' upcoming Orion Pictures release of Till and Sarah Polley's Women Talking during Q1 2023, after Sony distributed the majority of the Daniel Craig 007 franchise through 4 titles. Universal released the final one overseas with the actor No Time to Die, which grossed $613.2 million. MGM released the film stateside, where it made another $160.8 million for the grand total of $774.1 million. The terms of the new Warner Brothers agreement with MGM include the foreign distribution of subsequent 007 films from Bond 27 onward. Hold on. Okay. No Time to Die is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bond 26 must be the one that has yet to come out. Right? There are only been 25 officially under the Broccoli family, right?
I mean, are they working on another
Unless
James
they're
Bond
counting
film?
Never Say Never Again as one, which I don't think. Are they working on one? They haven't announced anything yet, but I would expect they would. Especially considering the state of the world and the fact that a Cold War has been started again. If you know what I mean.
Well, that implies that they're going to be doing a James Bond set in the modern day instead of rebooting and going back to the original.
No, I don't know what they're going to do, and frankly, I don't know that I'm enthused either way. Make Bond fun again. That could be the thing going forward, but we'll see.
I mean, if you could get the Cobra Kai guys working on it, then I'd say I'd be all for it.
Just get someone, maybe someone other than Phoebe Waller-Bridge working on the script.
Oh, for fuck's sake. She's another one of those names that if she's associated with it, I want nothing to do with it.
Well, she's
right up there with J.J. Abrams and Kurtzman and Kathleen Kennedy.
Okay, but we are incredibly excited to be working with the team at Warner Bros. To bring MGM's slate of future releases to international audiences. This isn't that out of the ordinary, oddly enough, because remember in the old days of DVD, in fact, there was this weird thing where I believe Warner Brothers released The Wizard of Oz on screen and on DVD, but that was an MGM film, correct?
Right.
But I don't know. Okay. Our studios and executives share a commitment and passion to bring high-quality films to all genres, blah, blah. Okay, Warner Brothers is going to make some money. I'm assuming Zaslav, do you think he ironed out some of this, or maybe the people he hired ironed this out? It seems like this could be quite lucrative to Warner Media. I don't know.
I think what this comes down to is who's got the bandwidth and the infrastructure to do it. You know, if you own a film, but you don't have, solvency to put it out on DVD, for example, you go to another company and say, hey, you want to distribute these for us? We'll form a partnership, make it happen. It's just how business works. I mean, it's the way business should work, as long as it's, a good deal for both sides. Do it.
Upcoming Bond pick will be I thought it was number 26. I thought it was 25 so far under the official.
I like how he says if it happens. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm terrified because I'm worried it'll make me look at these last couple of Daniel Craig films as brilliant in comparison compared to what they could do. I heard rumor they were thinking about casting Tom Hardy. Don't do it, please.
Well, whatever they do, it's not going to be a sequel to the previous film. I can't see how it could be.
No, this is what it needs to be. It needs to. Here's what they could do. They could set it in the old continuity and have Pierce Brosnan's Bond come back as like a retired Bond and figure out a way to shame him, humiliate him, and then kill him off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm just. What am I giving them ideas for?
I could get behind that if it was Timothy Dalton.
Look, here's the deal. The old Bond movies, however loose the continuity was with them, it was supposed to be the same character throughout all of them until they got to Daniel Craig, in which they rebooted, which I thought, they're probably going to go back to the Ian Fleming novels and try to more accurately depict them on screen, because they were starting with Casino Royale. I assume Live and Let Die and Goldfinger and all those would follow after that. But no, that's not what they ended up doing. And CW will be profitable by 2025.
Actually, translation, don't expect it to be profitable until sometime after 2025. If it ever is.
As it transitions to new ownership, the CW will likely not look dramatically different in the near term, but Nexstar Media Group intends to turn it into a more broad audience and cost-conscious broadcast network. That means that the shows they're making have been too expensive. Is that the impression you're getting?
And have not been making any money. That's the key. The ratings have sucked, and we've been saying all along, how can they continue to put out this shit that's not making any money? There's gonna come a point where it's got to stop.
This decade is looking more and more like the 1970s, but without the fun.
Yeah.
Like all the bad stuff, because weren't budgets severely cut? I made a point that when you looked at film stocks on movies of the 70s, they weren't up there with what came before.
Someone
they didn't have Technicolor and all that.
Someone recently said, I don't remember who it was, the 2020s are like the 70s except with less female body hair.
Who am I thinking of from the 70s now? Galaxina actress Dorothy Stratton. I remember her. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here we go. As it transitions to new ownership, the CW it's Nexstar. The company earlier today confirmed it is set to take 75% ownership. It was taken network with previous 50-50 owners Paramount Global and Warner Brothers Discovery each retaining 12.5%. Transactions will formally close in the next few weeks. This is what I'm curious about. It almost feels like Discovery's brought in to take over Warner Brothers, so that means streaming and theatrical, right? But then they didn't want to handle the CW anymore, so they passed it off to this other company, and they have a smaller stake.
Yeah,
it's like a passing of the buck. That's what it feels like to me, because they probably had enough to deal with HBO and running both the Discovery and HBO networks and also the streaming that they didn't want to have to worry about the CW. So I guess they allow another company to take over. I have a question. Will these shows show on HBO Max or Paramount Plus because of these 12.5% stakes in them?
We may have to table that question until next week based on what you were talking about in the chat there earlier about.
All right. I don't know.
About things going away.
Executives articulate some of the initial planning during a 50-minute conference with the Wall Street analysts. Through the presentation included only prepared remarks and no Q&A period. They're not taking questions. Okay. CFO Leanne Gliha said the goal is to make the CW profitable by 2025. It's no secret that the CW is not profitable, she said, but this is not typical for a fully distributed broadcast or cable network. In fact, according to SNL Kagan data, no other broadcast network operates at an ongoing loss. What was going on over there?
It's exactly what we've been talking about for so many other things. A lot of these showrunners and writers and leftist loonies have been using these properties as their own personal soapboxes. They don't care if they're profitable. And unless the adults in the room step in and say, okay, yeah, you're done, they will continue to lose money. And that is not a sustainable business model. And that's why something like this happens, where Warner Brothers sloughs off the CW onto somebody else, in this case Nexstar, and Nexstar sits and goes, what do we do with this now? It's not profitable. We were talking about this several weeks ago when we found out that they sold
for like $10, right? Or something.
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, I could have afforded that. And we're all going, no, you could not. Because although that, yeah, you are also incurring all the debt that comes with that. And then you've got something that's really valueless. That's why it went for $10 or whatever it was. And what do you do with that? You're not going to make any money on Batwoman and Supergirl and, whatever other lefty, loony, feminist garbage that they're, putting out there, intersectional.
Black Lightning, but they took that off. I guess Stargirl is the only ongoing. Was that a hit? Stargirl?
I didn't even know they did a Stargirl, so I don't know.
A Stargirl show, yes. One key step on the path to profit will involve a significant reduction of expense. We expect to invest a low 9-figure amount over this 3-year period as we implement our plan. Lee has said, we view this amount as a proxy for a purchase price or an investment made over time rather than an ongoing drag on cash flow. You know us, we are profit and cash flow focused and expect this asset to achieve profitability. Okay, so I think heads are going to start rolling if they haven't already here. Babylon 5, you think it could still happen?
No idea. I have no idea.
You might be able to do it on a budget, especially with a lot of the new, like those Mandalorian style effects. Maybe?
I think immediately, based on what you just said, they're going to look at that and go, yeah, no, that's already too much of a budget for us.
What are they going to do? Sitcoms and soap operas?
Reality TV? I don't know. But
no.
Before we get too far down that road, maybe you should get to your next article, because I think that's going to give us some insights.
This goes on forever. This is word salad. Okay. Okay.
I think this gives you a lot of insight that cuts through a lot of the BS in the other article.
Okay. Oh, Batwoman, that's what's been going on at the CW. Oh. You think when you lose your lead actress, maybe call it a day, but they didn't do that. And then I think they had Joker gas on it, where like you get sprayed with Joker gas and you become just like the Joker. And I'm like, that's not how the Joker works. He's not a mutant. Okay, next star says average CW viewer is 58 we're not doing this one? Sorry.
No, go ahead, do it.
Okay. Next star says average CW viewer is 58 and internet can't stop laughing. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't linger on this. I think you were wanting to get to the next one. But during a call with analysts today, executives from Nexstar Media Group revealed how they hope to turn the CW into a more of a cause-conscious broadcast network that appeals to a broader audience. Turns out the CW is a lot closer to that goal than anyone might have imagined. The reality, according to Nexstar President and COO Tom Carter, is that the average CW viewer is 58 years old, which he thinks is why the broadcast network is also the lowest rated among the five. Since the CW is home to such teen faves as Riverdale, All-American, and The Flash, news of its 50-something appeal elicited more than a few laughs online. I would have laughed if the average viewer was 40, wrote Mike Royce, the former executive producer on One Day at a Time on Twitter. 58 is true comic genius. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. Who is watching the CW? Is it 58-year-olds? Do you think that's...
I don't know where they get their numbers from or why they say that, but it's been getting memed all over the internet, where you have like shots from Riverdale and whatnot, and then a picture of like the Golden Girls watching TV. You know, it's like, seriously, do you really believe that 58-year-olds are watching, you know, these teen shows and the superheroes? But then when you counterbalance that with the fact that nobody's watching these damn shows, that's why the network has been operating at a loss and being sold for $10. You know, you go, well, you can say, you know, the one person that's watching the channel was 58 years old. Therefore, only 58-year-olds are watching this stupid channel.
58-year-olds. Yeah, I don't. They're watching CBS, dude. Right?
I should think, you know, yeah, NCIS and stuff like that. Sure.
Well, there's anything wrong with NCIS.
I love NCIS.
Yes. Embracer Group acquires intellectual property rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Were you thinking Embracer was Nexstar?
No. Embracer is
okay. Yeah,
I don't know much about Embracer. That's why the fact that there's so darn much about them this week, I'm like, who the heck is this Embracer Group?
I don't know. I think Jeff Bezos is their bitch now. That's what I'm
like,
thinking.
75% of our news articles are related to this Embracer Group.
How many?
Almost. Well, there's 4 articles here out of.
Never mind. Okay, yeah. What we're doing. Okay, I thought you meant like 4 news. Never mind.
No, not in general. I just meant our slice of geekdom.
Our slate. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Swedish video game company Embracer Group has acquired Middle-earth Enterprises, a division of the Saul Zaentz company, which owns the intellectual property catalog and worldwide rights to the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The financial terms of the acquisition were not disclosed, but the deal means Embracer Group will pick up the motion picture, video game, board game, merchandising, theme parks, and stage production rights relating to the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit franchises, as well as matching rights in other Middle-earth related literary works authorized by the Tolkien estate and HarperCollins, which have yet to be explored. I am truly excited to have the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, one of the world's most epic fantasy franchises, join the Embracer family, opening up more transmedia opportunities, including synergies across our global group, says Lars Wingfors, founder and group CEO, Embracer Group. I am thrilled to see what lies in the future of this IP, with Freemode and Asmodee as a start within the group. Going forward, we also look to collaborating with both existing and new external licenses of our increasingly stronger intellectual property portfolio. Don't you love the speech here?
Yeah.
I feel like it's something you'd see in a science fiction dystopia movie. But
it's one of those things where you see something like this and you go, where did this come from? This came from way out in left field.
Here's what I think, and they didn't mention television, but maybe that was also included. I think what they have is this company that owned the Lord of the Rings rights and licensed it out to, like, say, Warner Brothers for the movies and I guess for the upcoming anime film they're making. They're now giving up those rights and they're giving them over to this group, which I believe now if New Line wants to make more motion pictures, they have to then now go talk to Embracer Group to get the rights. Is that what it is? Okay.
And actually, Boomer, I do want to say there's one thing you said that I think you got to be real careful about. I think when something is not said, that is as important or more important than what they do say. I saw a lot of people in the comment section for Deadline saying, well, wait a minute, what does this mean for the Rings of Power? And we're going to get to an article about that in a second. But I went back and I quoted that the Embracer Group will pick up what? The motion picture, video game, board game, merchandising, theme park, and stage production rights relating to. Okay? What they don't say is very important. They don't say television rights and they don't say streaming rights. That's an intentional omission. That's the first thing I thought when I saw that. So I said, this means nothing to what they're doing over at Amazon.
Okay. I'm wrapping my head around this. I know that I theorized the reason why New Line was making an anime feature film to be shown on the big screen, which is odd for, like, I would think that'd be something you'd put on video. But I think the reason they're doing it is because I think according to their deal with this other company, they had to release a Lord of the Rings theatrical picture every so often, or else you don't get to keep.
That's probably right. Yeah, that's probably right.
What more can really be done, though, with Lord of the Rings after what New Line did with The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogies? This is what I understand. Unless maybe they plan to remake them someday.
Well,
like
there's
20 years or something when the
again,
those movies were made 30 years ago. We can do them again.
The biggest part of that is video game, board game, and merchandising. They don't even need to do anything else. What that is that's the marketing. That is the marketing. So you want your customizable card games, your Lord of the Rings themed chess set. Maybe the WizKids, Clicks figures and stuff like that, role-playing games, video games, all of that kind of stuff. So that's where the money really is anyway, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like how when the Lord of the Rings...
Spaceballs was not wrong when they said that's where the real money comes from.
I remember back in the old days of... when Lord of the Rings came out on the big screen, they had video games. One was a Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring game, which I think was supposed to be based on the novels. Then you had EA releasing the ones based on the movies, which were a different license. Right?
Probably. And they were also probably bug-infested games that barely worked. Am I right?
Actually, no. Back then, I'll say this. I will defend. EA back during that generation, they were pretty good.
Oh, okay.
They kept it simple and they kept it as a beat 'em up, and it actually, for what they were pretty good. EA didn't start to. I mean, people have always had trouble with EA, but they didn't really start to become a problem until really 7th generation. And even at the beginning of that, they weren't terrible. But then as time went on, now they're off. I wouldn't trust them. Now, currently, Warner Brothers Interactive, I believe, are the ones that making the Lord of the Rings video games, based, of course, on the New Line license, right? Because that went back to Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers has their own game division because they bought out Midway Games, so that eventually forms into Warner Brothers Interactive. So I don't know. Let's keep moving. We got more Embracer stuff. Isn't this fascinating? NCIS is like putting on your favorite pair of slippers. It can be, yes. Maybe the Children of Huron and lesser known books. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I do think everyone was expecting this Amazon thing to have something to do with the Silmarillion, and it doesn't really. But the Silmarillion has a lot of great implied stories that could be developed.
Could someone else do a television series based on the Silmarillion if they bought the rights? And would they then have the rights to do a Silmarillion series?
Let's put it this way.
Amazon series? But they didn't get the rights over Amazon to that, so couldn't another group get the rights to it?
When Peter Jackson did the original trilogy, Lord of the Rings,
and the original trilogy, right?
The Tower and the King thing. He was very faithful in adapting the books as they existed. Anyone who was going to do the Silmarillion and what was the other one? I think it's called The Lost Tales or something like that.
Yes.
Those are all partial stories, implied stories.
Yep.
So you would need somebody who could take and do the exact opposite of what Benioff and Weiss did with Game of Thrones, right? You're given a bunch of notes and you need to turn it into a story. They just turned it into word salad, threw it up there, and effed it all up. You need someone who can take the notes, get into the mind of Tolkien, understand what he's going for, understand the lore, and develop it almost with more gusto than Peter Jackson did. Because you don't have it all spelled out for you. You've got it outlined for you, and you have to fill in the meat on that skeleton. Honestly, I don't think anyone could do it. I could be wrong. There could be some genius out there, but who are the best? You look at Peter Jackson. You look at Denis Villeneuve. These are people that take other people's work and turn it into a brilliant masterpiece, but they're working on a finished product. I need to see somebody who could take an unfinished product, an outline, and turn it into gold. I can't imagine it. But in theory, yes. In theory, it could happen. I don't have that much faith in the entertainment industry these days, though.
Lord of the Rings sold. What happens to Rings of Power? Okay, this continues on.
So this gets into what I was getting at, and I had been waiting on this because WDW Pro had some great insights on this, and he spells it out.
Okay, a new major player is on the scene, and they own the rights to almost everything related to Lord of the Rings. What's left for Jeff Bezos and Amazon? Earlier today, the Embracer Group out of Sweden made a mighty purchase of the realms of intellectual properties after being shopped around the world for billions of dollars. Embracer has purchased the rights to almost all of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth properties for new media creations. Final purchase price was not disclosed. The transfer of rights from Saul Zaent's company means that Embracer can make new video games, movies, literary works, stage productions, and more, all based on Middle-earth. What do you mean new literary works? Oh.
See, that makes me feel like it could go the way of Dune when you get new writers writing new stories. I don't know. And I got to be honest with you, that stuff
A Lord of the Rings expanded universe.
Right? I don't know, man.
No. Okay. The one major thing not covered by the deal, Amazon's Rings of Powers deal, and potentially other streaming shows developed by Amazon. One of the biggest developments for fans out on this huge exchange, there are now likely two different visions for Lord of the Rings. Related characters, that could mean a future where there are distinct versions of Middle-earth present in major multimedia. It's kind of like how in the old days you could go in the audio drama catalog and you could get either your Lord of the Rings American audio drama or Lord of the Rings British audio drama.
Yeah. What I would like to see is, I know that there are whole language communities for like the Elven dialects and the Dwarven dialects and stuff, and I know that stuff is pretty well fleshed out. I don't see why they couldn't put out language books licensed by, whoever owns the license for this stuff. I mean, there'd be no lore involved in that, or not anything, significant. But just the way they've done with Klingon for Star Trek,
Here's the thing, though. I still look at Lord of the Rings as it's a piece of literature. It is a great piece of 20th century British literature. It just feels odd to me. I mean, I guess you could do that with Sherlock Holmes, too. You could make your own Sherlock Holmes franchise. Of course, I guess technically
I'll tell
it's
you,
not
if you
public domain, but I don't know. It's
if you were going to make your own Sherlock, if someone wanted to, and Sherlock Holmes, you don't even have to worry about. That's in the public domain. So anyone can pick up and run with it.
Yeah.
Anyone can pick up and run with it. And, but there's, what did I say? There was 40 some different stories. You turn each one of those into a movie, you wouldn't even get through all of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what they would try to do is they would try to amalgamate stories, a whole bunch of stuff into one. Well, that's basically what they did with the Robert Downey Jr. thing, and then you end up with, for fans of Holmes, a big frickin' mess. I know a lot of people like that Robert Downey Jr. thing. I didn't. I don't like turning Sherlock Holmes into Batman, Iron Man. Okay.
My eyes are going back and forth at the top of my head. Yeah, those people that liked that movie. I
know I'm talking about you.
You know what it was? I liked the fact he was a physical fighter. I always imagined he did know some sort of fighting styles, didn't he, in those books?
He didn't get into, that kind of fisticuffs.
Okay,
he knew that Victorian cane fighting. You trip the guy, whatever, you unhand him with your cane, and
Okay, all right.
That wasn't what he was about. He was about mentality, not physicality.
I know. I'm just saying. We like Robert Downey Jr.
And actually, we're going to be talking about, and we've drawn the comparison between Sherlock Holmes and Batman before. One of the films that I just watched, getting ready for an upcoming Mr. Matchstick stream, Under the Red Hood. There's this great scene where. And I think this is probably why Matchstick told us we needed to see this, because it directly refutes that whole neck snap from the Snyderverse, right? Well, he didn't have a choice. And this was Batman in a situation where he didn't have a choice.
Decide! He keeps screaming at him, decide, the guy.
But because he is who he is, he finds a way. Because he's Batman. Same thing with Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes finds a way. He doesn't need to engage in the fisticuffs. In fact, when he does, that was when they were going to kill him off. That's when he goes over Reichenbach Falls with Moriarty.
Yeah. All right. In spite of the purchase of most of Miller's rights under their belt, it's important to look at what Amazon still holds and which hasn't changed. Speaking with Variety earlier this year, showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay had the following revelation. So what did Amazon buy? We have the rights solely to the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, the Return of the King, the Appendices, and the Hobbits, Payne says. And that is it. We do not have the rights to the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, the History of Middle-earth, or any of these other books. That takes a huge chunk of lore off the table and has left Tolkien fans wondering how this duo plans to tell a second-age story without access to those material.
The fact is, they're not.
Here's what I don't understand. They could have theoretically just done a series based on the books, the Lord of the Rings books. You know what they could have done? And I know they won't do this, but maybe an animated series that, was well animated, maybe even a callback to those old Rankin Bass productions, but do it and give it the full breadth that it deserved.
Oh, but they can't do that because they wouldn't then be able to do their diversity.
But see, when you're hiring voice actors, you can hire anybody as a voice actor, right? So, but I don't know what they're planning on doing. I think they're trying to sell. They bought the rights to Lord of the Rings, and I feel like they think they can turn this into Star Wars, where they're just doing.
These are the same kind of people that go, well, it's fiction, so we can do whatever we want. And the people that are actually fans of these properties go, no, you can't. Or you can, but it won't be the thing that we want, and we won't partake.
Ultimately, the sky is the limit for Embracer, a company many readers are possibly unfamiliar with. Meanwhile, Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's a very narrow scope of what they can develop. Jeff Bezos owns Amazon, however, and his pockets are deep.
So what, you think he's going to turn around and then buy Embracer Group?
No, I don't.
That sounds like what he's implying.
I don't know if Embracer wants to be sold because I think they're trying to turn into their own Amazon. Embracer also purchased a number of video game studios during their spending spree. It would not be surprising to see them put those studios to use on new video games featuring hobbits, elves, goblins, and dwarves.
That's what I was saying.
But this is what I'm saying. Okay.
That is the downside to what Amazon is planning. Whether they intended this or not, their brand of Middle Earth is Amazon distinct from anything else.
Okay.
And so when Embracer Group goes out and makes games and stuff based on actual Tolkien lore, there's nothing Amazon can say about it.
Theoretically, though, could Amazon sell the rights to develop games based on Rings of Power to like Electronic Arts and have that game coming out alongside maybe stuff that's based on the original literary works?
Dude, I don't know. That would be license of a license. And the other thing too is,
and then Warner Media is still making the ones based on the New Line universe.
Is it financially wise to buy the license to put out a game to produce a game for a series that nobody's fucking watching because it's not really Tolkien?
I remember back in the old days, you would have crap video game companies like Titus make a game, buy the rights to Superman the Animated Series, and then they put out Superman 64, which I actually bought at launch.
Is that the one where he's flying through rings?
It's considered one of the worst video games of all time.
I've seen
bought it new.
Angry Video Game Nerd did a thing on it, and I laughed so hard.
That's another story. Maybe I'll tell that sometime about how I ended up with a copy of that game because I bought it new because I was a big Superman fan. And I was like, I had an N64, Slim Pickens on N64. Here we're getting a 3D Superman game. Love the cartoon. I want to get this game. The preview said it looked good. I'm waiting for reviews of it to come online. No reviews. It's on the store shelf. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do an impulse buy. It wasn't $59.99. It was like $64 or $69.99. It was even more money than that.
That's terrible.
It is the worst game. Another story about this. I remember going by an GameStop. I think it was a GameStop in New York City around the year 2000, right? And near the train station, they had a thing on the board, and they say, trade in 3 used N64 games with the boxes, and you will get a free copy of you can get a copy of Ogre Battle 64, which was a game I really wanted. So I was like, you know what? I was going to trade in Diddy Kong Racing because I never cared for that one. I was going to trade in the wrestling game I had because those are always being updated. But then I couldn't find the box of Superman 64, and I was going to trade that with the other 2. And I was like, no! So I was like, okay, I'm taking a loss, but it's not as bad. Is it better, do a trade-in? Because I would never do trade-ins, but I was going to do a trade-in there, and that was just,
that's a bummer.
There's a behind the video game on Superman 64 called What Happened by Matt McMuscles. I'll look for it. Thank you. Just it's maybe, as bad as they say.
Maybe what we should do is next week we do a bad old days about the Batman 6 or the Superman.
Maybe
64.
we will. We'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. I'll see if I can do a little bit of research or something.
But anyway, back to Middle Earth.
Embracer Group now back to Embracer. New gaming acquisitions include limited run games, Tuxedo Lands, and Tripwire. Yeah, so I'm handling the gaming thing.
I was gonna say, I once we got to this, I was like, wow, we're still talking about Embracer Group acquiring stuff, but then I saw it was game related, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is.
Here we go. Embracer Group is at it again, the generally little-known company behind subsidiaries like Gearbox Entertainment, THQ Nordic, and Dark Horse Media. That's comic books, you know them. Made headlines earlier this year when it acquired a number of Square Enix's Western studios. Yeah, that was when the Tomb Raider got sold to them.
I remembered you talking about the Square Enix thing.
Yeah. Because Square Enix had a lot of West. They were a Japanese company, but they also bought a lot of Western developers too, and now they're getting rid of them. The full list of acquisitions announced by Embracer this week include limited run games, karaoke technology company Singtrix, peripheral manufacturer Geotech, and game studios Tuxedo Labs, Tripwire Interactive, Tatsujin, and Bitwave Games. Along with the gaming-focused purchases, Embracer has also acquired the rights to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit creative IP, which covers use in video games, tabletop, film, and more. I'm curious, why would they be buying peripheral manufacturers?
I guess it depends on the games, because think about it. If you have
sing tricks, you want to make mics for it if you make a karaoke game.
Right. Or if your games are like immersive, you want to do some sort of VR kind of thing.
I was starting to think, would they have the cojones to release a video game console?
I mean, it wouldn't be too different from like Atari, with their trackball and their
right.
wheel thing. I mean,
yeah, back in the old days.
You might have peripheries that are specific to the games you're putting out. Yeah.
As part of the new wave of purchases, Embracer has opened up its 11th operating group called the Embracer Free Mode. The new group is focused on operating activities in the retro, classic, and heritage game category, as well as iconic gaming and entertainment properties. I'll explain to you what limited run games is. They reproduce old cartridges. I actually bought one of their re-releases. I got the game Scat for the NES.
I can't even imagine what that would be.
Special Cybernetic Attack Team. What are you thinking?
I just imagined a bunch of monkeys throwing poop at each other.
Okay. Anyway, but they re-released that, and sometimes these old games get very expensive. But then when a company like this, they get the official rights to it, and they'll build a brand new cartridge for it, and you can buy that. Or maybe sometimes these, how like they have games that come out on consoles and they're digital only.
Mm-hmm.
Like Super Meat Boy or something, and you can only buy it digitally. Well, Limited Run will produce a limited number of physical editions of the game if you want to buy a physical edition of it. So
physical media
for collectors, yeah. And I know people have mixed feelings on them, but it's interesting that they got sold to Embracer Group. So Embracer seems to be interested in the retro thing, but I don't know how a Limited Run helps them with that, unless there's an infrastructure for making old cartridges, and because they're able to make old Genesis cartridges and old NES cartridges, so. Why are they interested in
that? Maybe it's speculation that it's going to be like, a retro revival kind of thing, like vinyl records and stuff like that.
So perhaps like I have a high definition Super NES made by 8-Bit Dough. Maybe in conjunction with 8-Bit Dough, they would say, okay, now we're going to release new re-releases of old Super Nintendo games that you can buy for these retro consoles you buy, kind of like how you can get your favorite vinyl record that's been out of print for your new vinyl record player, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually heard that there's a company out there that is that will make those really old-fashioned cylinders that they had before they had records. They make those.
What?
Yes. They make those even for like some modern music. Yes.
Could you imagine listening to a Miley Cyrus song on one of those old cylinder records? Huh?
That would be crazy. But this company,
I
find it fascinating because it allows you to use these archaic devices to listen to some modern music. But the company if you've bought it, you get a code where you could download the song digitally too, because sometimes the sound quality is not that great.
Some vinyl record companies would do that too. Like you get the vinyl record, but you get like a digital code. If you buy them from Amazon, you get them they'll usually throw in the MP3 version through the Amazon store. I know that
go ahead. I was going to say go ahead. Your show. You go first.
I bought these Italian records called Criminale, and they were I guess recordings of soundtracks for old Italian television series, and they were on vinyl records, but they also were good enough to give you a CD of it with it as well. So
gotcha.
That was kind of neat. You get a CD as well. Yeah.
I had some plans with the friends that I was doing the Victorian steampunk stuff with. We were going to build a mock-up of an old-fashioned what do you call it, the Victrola type phonographs with the big horn on it and whatnot, and we're going to create like a blank record to spin on it, but we were going to put all the digital electronics into it so that we could just feed MP3s out of it. And neat. I said, and I could take all those MP3s and put a filter over them so they sound like they're being played on an old-fashioned record with the squawk box and everything. I said that, would be really cool. Plus, the music that we would probably be playing would be the steampunk music that was available in the dealer's room, from the band that was there, hawking their wares and whatnot. So I said that could be a really great part of the immersion. So look, there is definitely call for old media. I hate to turn this into another own physical media thing, but it really is. There is that nostalgia for old mediums. As long as it's still available in a digital format or a modern format and crisp and clear, there is a desire to also have an old-fashioned version for some people because they're just enthusiasts.
Well, it's weird because when I was a kid, I bought these cartridges for the Super Nintendo and NES, but I was always worried, these are going to die on me one day, the battery saves won't work, and I think in some ways they've held up better than games released on DVD or CD because those you have to worry about the optic drives and the systems breaking down. With the cartridges, they're pretty solid. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, they're buying Tuxedo Lab, small studio behind voxel-based destruction game.
So let me ask you, what is your gut instinct then on this Embracer group? Do you think?
I don't know.
Okay, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
One part of me is thinking, wow, maybe this is a group that we should really be keeping an eye on. Maybe this is a good thing. But then there's the cynic in me that's going, great. We got another group that's getting it all under their umbrella so they can destroy it themselves.
Whether or not they're good or bad, that I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to assume malice until I have more details. Because now that they own Tomb Raider and then they can put that out under THQ Nordic, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. Maybe it won't be good, but I am curious because I didn't like what Crystal Dynamics was doing with Tomb Raider, so we'll see if it's better under new owners. I don't know, but
D. Pensek, Edison, that hack thief.
Yes, exactly.
Tesla was wronged.
Tesla. It's funny. I'm telling you, over the weekend, I was showing my host that William Shatner series, The Unexplained. They were actually very impressed. I showed the episode where apparently Tesla comes up, and they're saying, was the Great Pyramid in Egypt really a conductor of some sort, and was Tesla also trying to create something similar? But what do you think, huh?
Yeah, I've read all the write-ups on his wireless putting out electricity for free over the airwaves and stuff. And I mean, I understand the technology. I understand it well enough to know it wouldn't really work the way people think it would. It would actually have been very, very dangerous. And although we don't have a perfect electrical system now, it's better than what he had proposed. There's a lot of fantasy and romance that goes into his
that's what steampunk's about, right?
That's what exactly. That is what steampunk is about. Steampunk requires you to just say those fantasies will pretend that they're realities and will play in a world where all that stuff works. The reality is it doesn't. And that's why you could do stuff like modern music where you just kind of scuff it up and, play it over a Victrola or whatever, that whole Victorian futurism kind of concept.
It's kind of like how in Westworld you had the those pianos that would play the songs,
Right, the roller pianos.
And you'd hear like Nirvana's Teen Spirit being played over it in that style. And
exactly. And if I was if I was going to do that in for a steampunk event, I would go and I would buy an old used player piano that doesn't work. And so I can get it really, really cheap. And I would put in a custom roller in the middle that was not attached to anything. It would just go around and around in circles and look like it was something playing. And then I would just pump through, electronic music that was made to sound like it was coming through a piano.
Yeah, I mean, that was fascinating technology. Have you ever, sometimes I've gone to like some of these old timey museums where they actually will do demonstrations of these old record players and whatnot.
The Museum of Science and Industry here in Chicago was great for that. They have a whole turn of the century street that I just loved as a kid. And you could see the player piano, and there was a display on how it was done and stuff like that. And
excellent.
you could go and sit in a mock-up of an old cinema, and they'd have a silent film playing on an endless loop. It was kind of cool.
I know that when I would tour the Edison estate, they showed how they had to move the Black Maria because apparently they had to go with the sun to provide the light for it, so they had to keep moving it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just fascinating how old technology worked. So what does Embracer Group actually own the rights to? Yes, we're still on Embracer.
Yeah, that's what I told you. There's a lot on just this group.
Okay, so if you're on all tuned to gaming news, you probably haven't noticed a number seemingly endless and slightly worrying number of new posts about acquisitions over the past few years, and that one of the names cropping over and over again is Embracer Group, which seems to be snarfing up game studios left and right. But at this point, you're probably wondering, okay, what do they actually own the rights to? Sure, Embracer Group themselves won't be making the games, but they have the power to order new entries and a fair few IPs at this point, most recently the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series, which they acquired in August of 2022. And like I said, I don't know if Embracer is going to be good or bad. We just have to wait and see. But this is what they apparently own. Video games and series. Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Ascent, Sanctum, Goat Simulator.
What?
You've
what
never
the heck is
Goat
that?
Simulator. You can get it on PC if you want. It's you play a goat and you go around and you mess around in town. It's like Grand Theft Auto, but you're a goat. It's an open world game. What does a goat do? A goat will butt people. Says like you can go to a person's house and destroy their living room and run out the door. You've never heard of Goat Simulator. You should watch.
I have not. No,
okay,
I haven't.
Goat Simulator. Okay, Satisfactory. Don't know. Gianna Sisters. Gianna Sisters, as odd as it started out as the PC, as an old, I think, Commodore 64 game, which was basically a PC knockoff of Super Mario Brothers, except it had Gianna Sisters. Except they were the Gianna Sisters instead of Super Mario Brothers in it. And now they've evolved into their own thing, I think. But back then, they really were trying to make a knockoff of Super Mario Brothers, but. Destroy All Humans. That's a fun little game series where you play an alien, and you go to Earth and you get to abduct people and shoot at dumb army guys. It's like based on those 50s sci-fi movies, except you're the alien. Like you can suck people's brains out and stuff. It's kind of fun. Okay, I can't go through all these. You'll have to look at the list yourself. Darksiders, they have that one. Duke Nukem. Good luck with that. Zen Pinball. Zen Pinball was interesting because they have original pinball machines, and then sometimes they're based on licenses like Marvel, and sometimes I think they're even recreations of old pinball games, and they put them in. You buy the main thing, you can add pinball games into it as you go along for like a couple bucks. You get a new pinball game, But
yeah,
Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, Torchlight, Neverwinter. I don't think that's Neverwinter Nights, is it?
It may not be, but it's definitely the D&D, thing.
Okay. Alone in the Dark, Saints Row, Dead Island, We Sing, The Blob, Red Faction, Time Splitters, MX versus ATV Killing Floor. It also looks like they all own number shares in several companies in the following games: Valium, Songs of Conquest, TikTok. I think I missed the rest. Okay, but and finally, they also own limited run games, a physical publisher. Okay, for comics, movies, and TV, they own 347. These are the movies they own. Okay. Embracer owns the Dark Horse Comics, which has published comics to the following: 347 Roland, The Mask, Aeon Flux, Aliens, Colonial Marines, Alien 3, Alien vs. Predator, Angel, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Conan, Critical Role, Emily Strange, Ghost, Hellboy, Indiana Jones, James Bond, Nexus, Predator, RoboCop, Serenity, Sin City. But this doesn't mean they own these things. Is that correct? Do they own the previously published comic book adaptations? So if they want to release these in comic book form, they can?
I don't know. It's not clear to me from that.
That makes any sense. They own Dark Horse Entertainment, which owns the following stories: The Mask, Time Cop, Hellboy. Okay, so this stuff they probably do own. Emily the Strange, R.I.P.D., Umbrella Academy. Board games and card games: Seven Wonders, Agricola. This is more your territory. Seven Wonders, Agricola, Call of Cthulhu, Carcassonne, Cash and Guns, Baton, Citadel's Diplomacy, Dixit, Double, Formula Day, Ghost Stories, Hanabi, Japer, Jungle Speed, Liar's Dice, Pandemic, Small World, Splendor, Star Wars X-Wing miniature games. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. The Werewolves of Miller's Hollows, Ticket to Ride, Time's Up, Twilight Imperium, Unlock, Pokemon, Lord of the Rings card game, Game of Thrones card game, Arkham Horror card game, Marvel Champions card game, and they also have the rights to publish WizKids board and card games in French, including Justice League, Gremlins, Hobbit, Unexpected Journey, Battlestar Galactica, Couriers, Lord of the Rings dice building game, Dice Masters, Clicks, Mage Knight. And here's the last comment in the article. Foo! How long do you give it until Embracer owns us too? And do you think this kind of slow monopoly is a good thing or a bad thing for video games? Tell us in the comments.
Well,
what do you say?
The more I think about it, I will be watching to see what comes out of this group, because they do have they have access to some very interesting franchises that I'd like to see content for. So let's hope for the best, but steel ourselves against the worst.
Helios, we're going to get to it. Welcome to the chat. Waiting for the new Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
Deleted scenes. They are making a new Alone in the Dark games. Yes, they are. They just announced one recently, actually. I think it was last week. You know Alone in the Dark, that old series?
I don't think so anyway.
Well, it started life as a PC game, I'm just saying. I don't know. Ball made a movie based on it, I believe, starring the chick from American Pie. Never mind. Let's move on. My brain's fried. Okay. Crunchyroll's presence in the overseas anime industry continues to grow. The Sony-owned streaming service purchased Right Stuff, which runs the largest online anime retailer in North America. The deal was announced on August 4th, 2022, ahead of Crunchyroll Expo event. Pricing and other terms were not disclosed publicly. The Right Stuff acquisition bolsters Crunchyroll's burgeoning e-commerce business, widening its selection in both anime and manga. The merger of Crunchyroll with Funimation also put Funimation's physical home video releases under the Crunchyroll for Home Video brand. Right Stuff was quick to announce on its blog that the retail side of the businesses fronted by RightStuffAnime.com will not change. In large part, no branding changes or mergers of catalog are planned, and all orders, current and future, will continue to be processed normally. The Crunchyroll and Right Stuff online stores will also operate separately, for the quote-unquote moment. There is one exception. Erotica. Following the acquisition, Right Stuff will phase out its erotica genre content and products. It will honor existing orders, but will no longer take future orders. All products and future orders in the now defunct erotica section will be transferred to a new business, Arrow Anime Store. At the moment, Arrow Anime Store's site is down, but the linked FAQ promises that all existing orders and products will be transitioned in time. You don't probably purchase a lot of anime, so I should explain to you what the Right Stuff is. I was buying anime from the Right Stuff, I believe, before I started ordering stuff on the internet. They've been around for a long time, I believe, at least since the 90s.
Okay.
Their little quote was a small Midwestern anime company, distributor.
And they've just been bought up by the conglomerate.
And I'm a little worried about this. Now, to be fair, Right Stuff even had its own brand of anime releases under its Nozomi release, so they might buy an anime series and release it under Nozomi as well. And so they would distribute their own stuff, but then they would sell, of course, all the other anime distributors' stuff on their site. They're pretty good. They used to have the best prices in town. Spend over $50, get free shipping. I purchased a lot of anime from them. I don't want to think about the amount, but over the years. And I still buy from them. I even have a couple orders I'm waiting on from them. But I am a little trepidatious. Crunchyroll, of course, was bought out by Sony, which means Sony owns basically the biggest anime retail store in North America. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm worried Sony could be dictating what kind of anime gets sold through the store if they don't like something. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but we'll see. But it does give Crunchyroll a lot more power, I guess, on the anime side of things. We'll see, but I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this. I don't think we'll be feeling the after effects of this soon, but maybe next couple of years. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the right stuff. We'll see.
Okay. Well, you'll be on the front lines on this, so you'll have to keep us posted on it.
They're still making Alone. Yeah. Oh, I already answered that. Yeah, Tara Reid was in the Alone in the Dark movie. That's right. You know Tara Reid?
Tara Reid. Yeah. See, you say Tara Reid, the first thing I think of is Sharknado. Now.
She played an anthropologist, I believe, in the Alone in the Dark movie.
Oh, I'm sure that was typecasting. Sure.
Okay. A new Friday the 13th movie might finally happen. We have some perhaps good news. And this is coming from Fangoria.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we've talked about this before, and let's go ahead and get right into it.
And I hope this frees up the marketing, too.
Yeah, because this thing has been tied in what we call development hell. They keep trying to get this off. Okay, everyone remain calm, but for the first time in a long time, it looks like we might actually have some hope that a new Friday the 13th movie is on the horizon. Remember when I said remain calm? Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here, but one of the producers who is said to be involved in the next incarnation of the beloved horror franchise has offered hope that we may be hearing concrete news on that front sooner rather than later. Roy Lee recently spoke with the folks over at Bloody Disgusting about his upcoming movie, Barbarian. During the chat, the subject of a new Friday the 13th movie came up. Lee, for now, couldn't say much, but he did tantalizingly tease that we may be hearing something more concrete soon. That one is something that I would love to talk about. You may be hearing something by year's end on that front, Lee said. Did you hear that? It's the sound of Jason Voorhees sharpening his machete. There is much to discuss in the wake of Lee's comments, so before anyone begins celebrating, we must temper our expectations, set up the stage. First and foremost, the rights to the franchise have been tied up for years, which is why 2009's successful Friday the 13th remake never got a sequel, and why the series hasn't been rebooted since. The ins and outs of it are extremely complicated, but original director Sean S. Cunningham and screenwriter Victor Miller have been at legal odds over the rights for years. But with the legal battle dragging on with no one in sight, basically both sides would need to come to terms for things to move forward. Lee's latest comments lead us to believe that perhaps the dust has finally settled. Now, if we assume that somehow the rights have been worked out, and that's a huge if, how does Lee factor into it? The producer behind It and The Ring became attached to the reboot of the franchise in 2018, with Vertigo Entertainment teaming up with LeBron James Springhill Entertainment to make it happen. Lee runs Vertigo with Doug Davidson, so that would explain his insider knowledge. What we know for sure is that in an era when Halloween and Halloween Kills made boatloads of cash, Netflix is seemingly going all in on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and with franchises remaining king of the hill and Hollywood overall, a new Friday the 13th movie makes sense now more than ever. There is a lot more financial motivation for everyone involved to make this happen. 13 years removed from Jason's most recent cinematic appearance, has the time finally come? One can only hope that Lee isn't just blowing smoke and that this is indeed more tangible this time around. This is my opinion. I think maybe we will be hearing news. What do you think?
I suspect you're right. I think this was an intentional tease.
Because I don't think he would have talked like that if something wasn't happening. At least he believes something. I'll say this. He believes something is going to happen. So maybe the dust has finally settled. I mean, no one's making any money when something's stuck in limbo, so maybe they've finally come to terms. Because I know weren't some of the problems was the iconic mask Jason was owned by somebody, but then Jason Voorhees was owned by somebody else, but then the title
it's another one of those very convoluted split in the proverbial baby kind of situations, because the writer of the original film, of course, he's the one that created the Friday the 13th thing and Jason and Pamela Voorhees. But of course, the Jason that appears in that first movie was literally just, a dream sequence kid in a lake. It wasn't the killer that came out in the second movie. The killer that was in the second movie was a full-grown man with a burlap sack over his face. you know? And then it's really not until the third movie that we get the hockey mask that everyone associates with Jason.
With Jason, yeah. So all different people have a lot of what do you call it? A lot of
they are created elements
like King Solomon and the baby, right?
Yeah.
There's, you know, it's like. I hope though that they work this out, because it would be interesting to see what they would do with Jason now. I mean, I guess, what do you think they would do? Would they do another reboot, or would they? I don't think they should. The trouble with doing a sequel with the original series was he went to space, unless that's no longer canon, right?
I got to admit, I think I have a copy of that. In fact, Netter's handing me my my copies of the films right now. Let's see. This is up through, Jason. No, I have up through Jason Goes to Hell. What's the next one? This one has, so Jason versus Freddy. Jason X, yes. I do have it, but I have not yet watched it. So yeah, I have up through 10. Of course, I've got a couple copies of Freddy versus Jason, and I have the unwatched thus far killer cut of the 2009 film. So I am going to have to check those out. But I have seen clips of Freddy 10 or Freddy X or Freddy Jason X, and honestly, some of it looks pretty good. Yeah, going to space is a stupid idea, but there are some things about it that I think I might enjoy. So
might find it interesting that 2 members of the Andromeda cast are in it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I don't know if they were doing it on the side. Maybe they were using parts of the Andromeda set for it. I don't know.
The first scene of it that I saw is that famous liquid nitrogen scene.
Yeah.
And the reason I saw it was because I was watching a channel on YouTube that does looks at the science of, movie scenes and, could this really happen and kind of thing. And they were looking at that one and saying, this couldn't happen the way you see it happening. But at the same time, if you were to be less realistic and, he holds her head under for a longer period of time, and it would be unreasonable for a film like this because it would destroy the action element of it. But they said the special effects done here are really, really good,
All right.
But no, that wouldn't happen just by, I won't get graphic with it, but chances are just that amount of time in liquid nitrogen, you might have survived it.
I don't know. We'll see what they have planned. And you didn't watch the reboot, I take it, that they did, huh?
You mean the 2009 thing?
Yeah.
I haven't yet. Do you recommend it? I do have it on DVD.
It's interesting. You should watch it. What it basically does is that they were trying to redo it for modern audiences, so it's almost like a truncated version of where you have 1 and then 2 and 3, because they go through. First, they have a flashback to when Mrs. Voorhees gets killed, different actress playing her, and then they do modern times with Jason. But then, of course, he gets the hockey mask at some point in the movie. I mean, it's new characters, but it's sort of like
so it takes 1, 2, and 3 and amalgamates
with new characters. But yeah, it's sort of like telling a similar.
See,
story.
I almost feel like
I think he starts out with the burlap sack when he's killing the teens in it, and then
it makes sense. And honestly, I think that's almost what you need to do if you do a reboot like this. Assuming that the movie was good in its own right, I don't know if it was or not. You kind of want to take, you got 10 movies before this, go through them, take what was good, put them into stories, ignore the stuff that's crap, weave a tighter, series of take those 10 films and make maybe a trilogy out of them. Okay.
You know what they could do? Maybe just start after 4 and have Corey Feldman back as an adult. Maybe.
The danger with that, is that you end up going down the Halloween route, right? Where you have these multiple possible, twist a plot storylines. I like the idea of saying this is what we've had. Some of this is good. some of it isn't. Let's reweave this tapestry with the best threads, do it in like 3 movies, and then start new stories after that. That's the way you do something like that.
Okay, and now on to our final story of the night. If I can bring that back up.
This was the one I was the most proud of in the thumbnail.
I have to say this. Yeah, this is the demonetization story. If I was monetized, okay, but we're going to talk about it because I think it's important. Okay. OnlyFans bribed Meta to put thousands of porn stars on terror watch list. Suits claim if the stream shuts down, I apologize.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But you're right; it would probably get demonetized if you were monetized.
I'm talking about it. It's important. Okay, I think this is important. Okay, we know what OnlyFans is. It's a site you go to maybe catch.
Well, see, interestingly,
next door doing stuff she shouldn't be doing on video.
My first understanding of OnlyFans, I didn't know what it was, and I just assumed it was another one of those monetized platforms for product or for content creators. Where you just had to be, and I imagined it was like Patreon or something like that, like for YouTube type videos, only to find out that then that is what it is. But then I come to find out that by and large, the majority of the people creating content on there are creating adult entertainment, shall we say.
Yes. So, OnlyFans, they don't have to, though. I don't think that's specifically what the site has to be about, but it's what it is, I think. Anyway, OnlyFans squashed competitors in an online porn industry with the help of a bizarre scheme that bribed Meta employees. That's, in case you're wondering, Meta, that's what Facebook used to be called, okay? Meta employees to throw thousands of porn stars onto a terrorist watch list, according to a group of explosive lawsuits. Adult performers who sold X-rated photos and videos on rival sites. So these are rival sites to OnlyFans. They saw their Instagram accounts falsely tagged as containing terrorist content, crippling their ability to promote their business and devastating their income, according to the suits. Sellers of smutty pictures were then shadow banned across Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and other sites, the suits allege. Targeted accounts also included businesses, celebrities, influencers, and others who have nothing to do with terrorism, according to the suits. When I heard that my content may be listed on the terror watch list, I was outraged. Alana Evans, an adult performer and one of the plaintiffs in the California suit alongside Kelly Pierce and others, told the Post, I was angry because it affected my income when my social media traffic dropped significantly, and I was angry because I am the daughter of a veteran who fought for this country. Evans and others were all allegedly placed in a database and terror-linked accounts run by the Global Internet Forum to Consumer to Counter Terrorism, or GIFCT, a nonprofit group intended to stop the spread of mass shooting videos and other terrorist content across social media sites. After adult performers who use rival sites allegedly had their names added to the GIFCT's list, traffic to the rival sites drastically fell. The suits allege. Meanwhile, OnlyFans traffic and profits soared as the site became a household name. Law firm Milberg Coleman, Bryson Phillips Grossman is representing the plaintiffs in suits against Meta and OnlyFans. Lawyers claim they have acquired a list of more than 21,000 Instagram accounts that were unfairly tagged as potential terrorists, previously unreported. California Superior Court filings show. In a statement to the Post, Milberg partner David Azar called on Meta and GIFCT to open up their records to help figure out whether our clients or their content are indeed on any databases intended for terrorists, and how to get them off. Because now you're involving the feds now, right?
Exactly.
In a statement to the Post, OnlyFans said, "We are aware of these cases have been filed. We are not aware of any evidence which supports these allegations." So they're denying this. The alleged participants have all publicly stated that these cases have no merit. Meta did not respond to requests for comment, but told the BBC, which first reported the bribery allegations, that it had investigated and found no evidence the terror database had been abused. These allegations are without merit, and we will address them in the context of litigation as needed, Meta said. So they're saying this is all bogus. What do you think?
I think what this is, and we've been seeing this a lot in the news lately. This is just the weaponization of the legal system. This is no different than what we're seeing happening with Alex Jones, with the Mar-a-Lago raid. We are using the legal system against our enemies. It's literally third world banana republic type stuff.
In this case, though, I mean, you don't use it for people who disagree with you politically either. But this isn't even necessarily a political thing. This is just these are rivals to our friends over.
It doesn't matter if it's over politics.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. But I'm saying they've gone from that to this. Now it's business rivals.
Yep. Now it's whatever it is. It's taking cancellation to the next level. Now it's not just getting someone deplatformed. Now it's getting them prosecuted by through legal means and destroying people's lives. And honestly, dude, this is how it happens. This is how it happens under fascistic regimes, right? It starts with making someone a social pariah, then it becomes putting them in jail, and it eventually ends up in mass deletions.
Yeah. So we need to keep an eye on this. It's like if someone
I am going to say it doesn't matter what you think about people in this industry. You may not partake in it. You may not patronize it. Whatever. They are human beings who deserve the right to earn a living however they see fit, and nobody should be treated this way when they're not breaking the law.
Yeah, it's legal. You can argue whether or not it should be legal, but it is legal right now. And even if you don't agree with it, they shouldn't be branded as terrorists. That's a serious allegation. That's, to lay on anyone, even a sex worker, that's ridiculous. I don't know what I'm seeing here. And, it's one of these things where you say, well, I didn't want to stand up for them because they're porn stars. Well, who's going to be next after this? First, it's political rivals. Now it's this. I don't know what's going on here. And I think Silicon Valley has too much sway in a lot of what they do. And like I say, Meta's denying this. We'll see how this plays out in court. I'll be interested to see. But something smells here, and I don't like it. I don't like this. Normally I wouldn't bring up OnlyFans on this channel, but this is... I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like I said, it doesn't matter what you think about.
Yeah, you cannot agree with their line of work. That's fine, but again, they aren't necessarily breaking the law. So, well, at least I don't think they are. Well, not in this case, but again, they're not terrorists.
Exactly.
That's a terrorist is something completely different. A terrorist is someone that, well,
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just saying this. I don't know what to say to this. So yeah, I don't know. But I don't recognize this country anymore. Deleted Scene says.
Yeah.
We have a lot of bad eggs, and a lot of them are over at Meta. We've known that there's been a problem with Meta for many reasons. You can read Time Magazine earlier this year or last year to find other things out too. But I've never trusted Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't know what this is about. Now, it's possible he had no knowledge of this. Maybe this is just employees there that are getting kickbacks from OnlyFans to label these things terrorists and figure, well, no one's gonna fight on behalf of these, I guess, non-affiliated porn stars, So
and I'll tell you something else. You say it's not political, but it might be more political than you think. What I did not realize, not knowing, people in this industry, I was on a panel on Supreme Heretic. Mm-hmm. And it was a political talk. We were talking about conservative politics and so forth. And one of the panelists was a very attractive woman, very intelligent. I was having a great time talking to her. Only come to find out she was a very well-known actress in the adult industry. And because I was going to go follow her, and I was like, I saw like some of the pictures she had posted. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh man, I had no idea. And, it was like everybody was like, oh yeah, she's like real famous. You didn't know? I'm like, how would I know?
I wonder what her take on this would be, or maybe she wouldn't want to discuss it. I don't know.
Oh, she'd absolutely want to discuss it. I mean, okay. she's a very open, kind of person.
I got you.
But I mean, even about this was why she was on the channel with us talking politics. So I don't know, man. It's
Mark Zuckerberg is a Cylon. I'm just saying, today it's them, tomorrow it's you're opening up a hamburger stand near a McDonald's or a Burger King, and this guy's a terrorist. We don't want the competition. His burgers are too good or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Is a pod person. No, maybe the people that use his services are. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, but that's it. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say on this, but this is disturbing. It'd be interesting for him to go before Congress again and have to explain himself on this matter, but I don't know if any of them would bother bringing this up because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the stream. What'd y'all think? I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm just really proud of my OnlyFans.
I love your thumbnail. Yes. But the funny thing is that it's basically a porn site using social media to brand their competition as terrorists.
Exactly.
And this business can do it. Any business can do it. Okay, so
exactly right.
And these are of course these burgeoning industries that the high people aren't paying attention to. I mean, can you imagine this happens on YouTube? Or maybe Rumble. Maybe Rumble gets branded as a terrorist uploading site. Because YouTube doesn't like them if they get too big. I don't know. Okay,
I don't either.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night. Actually, what do you have coming up this week? Actually, I should say what I have coming up this week first. Okay, so I have Wednesday evening. I'm not sure what time we'll be going on. It might be 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But keep an eye on Soundtracks of Birdman. We will be doing a rewatch of the James Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies. That is the second Pierce Brosnan Bond movie. I saw that. That was the first James Bond movie I ever saw in a movie theater. It was that one. So that's the one with Jonathan Pryce basically playing a combination of Rupert Murdoch and Bill Gates as the bad guy.
There you go.
Remember that? Terry Hatcher's in it.
Oh, nice.
And Michelle Yeoh's in it as well. So
it's nice.
It's a fun little movie. I did enjoy it back in the day, and I look forward to revisiting it. So, and so what about what do you have going on this week? Do you have anything before Friday?
Let me think. I don't think so because we don't have anything on Matchstick, right?
No, not this week. Not
this week. And let me think. Yeah, so nothing before Friday. Friday, let me just minimize my screen here. Pacific 14 will be my guest. I suspect that you will have a great deal in common with him as he talks about. And in fact, I'm counting on you to help out with that interview because he'll be talking about anime and so forth that I know nothing about. But I shared a panel with him. It was a great time hanging out with him, and I think we'll have a great time hanging out on Friday. Then, of course, on Saturday we'll be over on Big Al Presents for a rewatch of Planet of the Apes, the original. It'll be a madhouse.
Oh, that's my favorite line from the movie, actually. I know everyone has their favorite lines, but my favorite line is it's a madhouse! A madhouse!
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I probably won't be able to make it to that one, but I do love the Planet of the Apes movies. My favorite is Conquest, but I love all of them, the old movies. To be fair, I like the rebooted series they did too. Those were pretty good as well.
Yeah, I thought they were doing great. They didn't like.
They weren't aping on the originals. They were
I see what you did.
I didn't do that on purpose. But that's funny. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, they were pretty good in their own right, and now Disney has them, so we'll see what happens. Maybe wait a while before doing any Planet of the Apes of Disney till you sort things out. 30 years from
exactly.
now. I'm sorry, what did I say? Okay. Zootopia asks, you're doing a Bond movie and didn't invite me. You know what? I'll try to rectify that if you're free Wednesday. I'm going to talk to Birdman. It was a last minute thing because we're like, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And it's one of those things that he picked Tomorrow Never Dies. So we'll see about sending you an invite. All right. All right. Anything else going on?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
That's all I can think of.
I am dead dog tired, but it was lovely hanging with you people. Yep. Thank you again, Troy, for the notes and the thumbnail.
Oh, of course,
Appreciate
of course.
That. Okay. And check out all the. Thank you again, deleted scenes for all the posts. And, be sure to check out these channels, people. Go ahead and watch a video or two so they know you're subscribed after you subscribe. And
exactly.
Again, thank you all for tuning in and listening to us. I appreciate that. If you're listening post, leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit a like button if you'd like, or hit a not. If they hit a not like button, will I even see it these days? So I don't know. Hit something.
You will, but nobody on your channel will.
Okay. And I'll cry, and I'm like, they didn't like this movie. They didn't like my show. Okay. Only if you want me. We always want you to join Zootopia. I think I'll bring it up to them. All right. Talk to you y'all later, and y'all have a good week.
Take care. Bye-bye.